Want to make amazing piano videos with particles? Today I'll explain the easiest way to do it using the SeeMusic app. Click the link in the description to download SeeMusic. Once you've installed the SeeMusic app, let's go ahead and open it up. The first thing you'll need to make a video is a MIDI file. Some of you might be wondering what a MIDI file is. A MIDI file contains the data for the notes that are played during a performance and makes it possible for the app to visualize falling notes. You can record your own MIDI file by connecting a keyboard and clicking the record button down here. Watch the How to Record tutorial video linked in the description for more about recording. For this tutorial, I've already recorded my performance and have my MIDI file ready to go, so we're going to import that now. To import a file, click the Import button up at the top left of the main screen. Select the MIDI file and click Open. And we're going to click Create Piece. You can see all the pieces you've created in this right-hand column here. A piece contains links to any MIDI, video, and audio files, as well as any color choices that you've made. Here you can see the media files for each piece and the color choices for each piece. On the left-hand column are collections of pieces. The app comes with a sample pieces collection, and you can browse through those and see those pieces if you want to. So for now, let's go back to the piece that we created. And you can see we have our MIDI file loaded in, but now we'll also need to load our video footage. So let's go back and click the Import button again, and select our video file this time. And because this is footage of our hands playing the piece, we'll select hands. And because we've already created a piece, this time we're going to click Assign to Current. And that links the video to the same piece as our MIDI file. And now you can see both files are loaded in, but the video is covering up the falling notes a bit because there's some black area above the part of the video that we want. So what we want to do is crop that out. So let's head over to Media Settings. And down here, there's a Video Settings button. And right here, you'll see there's a crop feature, and we can use that to crop out that black area. If you crop right to the top of the video, all you have to do to recenter it is set the position Y to 0. Or if that doesn't line it up for whatever reason, you can drag it around manually. If you're still having trouble aligning your video footage to the falling notes, I would recommend not worrying too much about the artificial keyboard under the video footage. Instead, set the opacity of the video to 100. Make sure the center is aligned, and then use the note position distortion to get the position of the falling notes to match your video footage. Once our video is aligned, the next step is going to be to sync it. You can control sync using this slider here, but there's also a special dedicated sync window here in Media Settings. And this makes it much easier to sync the MIDI and the video. So you'll see here the start of the MIDI file doesn't line up with the start of the audio inside the video file. We can change the sync by dragging the video file to match the MIDI file. And oftentimes, if you have clean file here with no extra notes, you can also just click the auto sync button and the app will line it up for you. But if that isn't working, then you should just drag until they visually match. Great. And sometimes you may also need to expand the range of view if the files are further apart or there's a long time before the file starts. Great, so our file's synced. Let's check that here. And we can also turn off the MIDI sound now, since we are primarily going to be wanting the sound that's in the video file. Great, that's looking good. So the next step will be to choose a color for our piece. So let's head over to the Color tab here. And you can see there are 5 different main options for colors. The first mode is single color mode, and that will just use one color for all the notes throughout the piece. The second option is 12 color mode, and that will have a unique color for each pitch. The third option is dynamic color mode, which will blend each of those 12 color choices into a dynamic color that changes over time. So for instance, if the piece moves from primarily C major to G sharp minor, then you will see the colors change. The fourth option is gradient color mode, where you can create a horizontal, a vertical, or a diagonal gradient. And the final option is track color mode, where you can divide the tracks of a piece into different colors. And you can do that artificially using the divide feature here, where you just set an artificial barrier for the left and the right hand. More typically, you would use track color mode here inside this panel, and you'll need to manually assign the notes to tracks. And you can do that by opening up the editor function, which is a very powerful feature in general. This is the editor button right here. And you can select groups of notes and then assign them to tracks by clicking one of the track buttons down here. And you can add as many tracks as you like, up to 8 actually, but generally that's enough. And if we go back now, you'll see that those are now showing up as different colored tracks, and we can control the colors of those tracks. So you could assign all the notes to the left hand and all the notes to the right hand, and you would see different colors for the left and the right hand. So for this video, I'm going to use a gradient. And let's go with a light blue and a sort of rusty red on top. A little lighter, okay. Looks pretty good. The next step will be to head over to Effect Settings, where we control all the exciting stuff, the particles, lights, and any other effects we might want. If you're new to SeeMusic, you'll probably want to first click on the preset gallery, which is going to give you some built-in options for the most typical effects. This first tab is Note Styles, and there's also options for particle styles. So if we click down through these, we'll see here we get a gem effect, here we get an outline effect, another outline effect. This is kind of a unique streak effect. And this is kind of a classic Synthesia type effect. For this piece, let's go maybe with the gems to make it a little bit more exciting. And if we head over to the particle styles, we're currently on the default. The explode will give you a flying out to the side effect. Fast playing will give you nice bursts of notes for pieces with lots of short staccato notes. High count will give you lots of very small particles. High turbulence will give you a more ornate turbulence effect. Long streaklets does away with the small particles and just gives you big long streaklets. Straight out is a simple, straightforward effect. And twirl gives you a more twirling type of turbulence. Let's use the fast playing for this piece. So just to take you through some of the specific effect windows here. In the note settings window, we can control everything about the notes. You can choose between 2D and 3D notes, the shape of the notes, and everything about the shape of the notes. The corner size, the edge width, gives you a much bulkier gem. Lots of choices. And you can also add bar lines or labels here. And if you set the notes to 2D, you also have the option to add an extra outline. So I'll go back to those gem notes for now. And if we go to keyboard settings, let me momentarily turn off the video to demonstrate this. So in keyboard settings, we can control the scale and the position of the keyboard. And if you have a keyboard with fewer than 88 keys, you can use one of these presets to set the visualization to roughly match your keyboard. So now we have a keyboard with 61 keys. And I know it looks a little awkward, but the goal would be to replace this app keyboard with your video footage, and then the falling notes would line up with your 73 key video footage. So that will be useful to some of you. And you can also turn on octave guides, which is a popular feature, or keyboard labels. And you can also set those to solfege or just only on the octaves. The next effect settings window is particle settings. And in particle settings, you can control everything about the particles. So the size, the count, the speed, and turbulence. And again, this stuff can be actually pretty frustrating to work with, so I do recommend you stick with the presets to begin with, and dive into this only when you feel like the presets don't meet your needs. In light settings, you can control the scale and opacity of the keyboard lights here. So this will make them much bigger and more powerful. The light rays is a secondary ray effect. And the bright center is also an additional center of the light effect you can add. And you can also choose whether they are under the video or above the video. In Saber Settings, you can choose the file for the Saber that's displayed here. The default is Saber Preset 4. You can click here to change it. If you want a simple straight line, you can choose Saber Straight. If you wanted something more complex, you could choose Saber Preset 3, for example. So I'll change it back to preset 4, the default for now. In texture settings, this will control the image or the video that's inside the notes. So if we change that file, you'll see now there's a different pattern showing up inside the notes. And you can control the brightness, the contrast, the hue, the saturation. There are special effects to create different kinds of effects with the texture as well. It's a very powerful feature, and I definitely recommend playing with the brightness especially to achieve different lighting effects. Let's turn that back to the default at the top for now. Let's check out the glow settings panel, which is really important and can make the difference between a good video and a great video. The fixed glow effect will add a pre-rendered halo to each individual note. So you'll see there's the same intensity of glow now around all of these notes. And the real-time bloom option applies bloom to the notes in real time, meaning that the amount of glow added will depend on how bright an individual spot of a note was previously. It's a little complicated, but what it basically means is that bright spots get brighter and dark spots stay the same. So you'll see the bright spots are sort of sparkling, and that's kind of a cool effect that you can add in real time. Generally, you want a mix of the two effects, and so let's tone this down a bit. And that looks pretty good. The defaults will work well for most cases, but you'll get a sense just by playing around with the two of them. Background settings will let you choose a file if you'd like to import a custom background. And you can also add a static color. Great, so that takes care of the effects, and we're pretty much ready to render for our video. So to render a video, the Create Video button is right here, this green movie camera. We just click that, and you can control all the settings for the render using this settings button here. And you can control a lot about how the video is rendered: the frame rate, the resolution, the quality, the aspect ratio. And these will have a big effect on render time. So you can render out at 60 frames per second, but it will take twice as long because there's twice as many frames. And the default is HD here, but if you render out at 4K resolution, it will take 4 times longer since there are 4 times as many pixels. If you want to make a video for TikTok, for example, you can choose the 9:16 aspect ratio and you'll see it's now rendering vertical. Or 1:1 could be good for Instagram. Generally speaking, I would leave this stuff the defaults unless you know what you're doing. The vast majority of the time, you should leave this set to AV Pro here. If it's never working on your device, you can try switching this to Basic. However, the vast majority of the time, it should be set to AV Pro. And if it's not working and it's set to Basic, switch it back to AV Pro. Great, so let's go ahead and render out our video. And on a current generation computer, it's probably going to take about 10 minutes to render a 6-minute video, which is just incredibly fast compared to After Effects, for example. I think this video took about 6 hours to render in After Effects when I made it, so that's a big improvement. So I'll see you back here when the render's done. Okay, so our render's now complete. So let's go ahead and take a look. Looking pretty good. So that concludes this tutorial since we have a complete video ready for uploading to YouTube. I hope you guys enjoy using the SeeMusic app. I really just think it makes the process of creating these videos a lot easier and a lot more fun. If you do have any issues while you're using SeeMusic, please leave a post on the support forum. You can get to the support forum by clicking the information button here at the top left of the app, and then clicking the support button down at the bottom right here. Using the support forum means that other people with the same issue can chime in and get help on that issue as well. You can also email me at seemusicapp@gmail.com. Please also consider leaving a 5-star review for the app. I would really appreciate it, and it helps other users to find SeeMusic. That's it for this tutorial, and I hope you enjoy making videos with SeeMusic.